thanks for coming to. Yeah.
Sorry.
Thanks for coming to see some indie authors talk about self-publishing. We're happy to answer any questions. If I start talking too fast because I get excited, my wife will give me the signal and I'll slow down a little. Yeah, I have to pronounce my consonants today. So raise a hand if you've got a question and we'll go to these. Is anyone a self-published author already? Ah, there we go. We're not alone. Ah, I see Louisa.
But mine was more of an experiment. I just wanted to know how it felt. So I went onto Amazon, did it through Kindle Publishing.
How did it feel?
And it's out there. Terrifying, but now it feels like...
Yeah, it gets easier
and
over time.
I wanted to get to that. I mean, the next one probably won't feel but I wanted to have that experience.
I mean, to be fair, I think most of us got into self-publishing as an experiment anyway, so you're not alone in that. It still is an experiment, I find. Seeing what I can do.
What is the most important question an author should ask themselves before they even start to do that, to self-publish?
That's a great question. The most important question an author should ask themselves is, how am I going to market this?
What their ultimate goal is, I would have said.
So the ultimate goal for most authors that I've ever met, and I've talked to, I do most of the author liaising with your paper quest that me and Ryan run. So I've sampled at least over like 1,000, maybe 1,500 books at this point by indie authors. So I talk to them all the time, and the goal for most of them doesn't really get past, I just want people to read my work. Because making money in self-publishing, unless you have some unique selling point, it's the same as in traditional publishing, you're not going to make much money off of it. So getting their work read is enough for most people. So I think start there and manage expectations. There's an ocean of self-published authors out there, and most of them, speaking from experience, even though these are my people, most self-published authors are pretty bad. Because there's no quality check for most of them.
I mean,
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, as somebody who was picked up by your paper quest, they took in my book Wrath of the Land. The thing that I asked myself when I self-published was like, I want people to enjoy my stories. Really, I've got all these stories that I want to tell, and I want to see if people, I mean, I was one of those kids who always used to try and make people laugh and entertain and stuff like that. So, it wasn't the money or anything. It was literally just to, again, entertain. I mean, I was saying to somebody earlier, one of the best compliments I've had as an author is people telling me that reading my book got them back into reading. And yeah, that's the sort of thing you look for. You don't look for the crowns and the groupies, which are limited. It's just somebody saying like something about your book like entertained me, and yeah, that for me is the ultimate ambition, I think, for most self-published authors. I too have seen people who've self-published who, when it comes to quality control, is, I'll put it politely, lacking. I mean, that was also one of the first things that I decided when I started self-publishing was, I want to make sure I get somebody who has like a good knowledge of graphic design to do my covers, and I need a second pair of eyes to look over my work, to edit it. I made that mistake once, never again.
Can I make a follow-up question?
Yes. I was going to say the most important question authors should ask themselves.
I agree with. I think it's more about getting your work out there than it is about thinking I'm going to make a lot of money, because there isn't a lot of money to be made, and it is the marketing. If you're not prepared to get off your bum and push your book wherever you go, then you're not going to sell any copies. When I first published my books, somebody said to me, oh, my sister's published 3 books, but every time it comes to the important Christmas market, she's been unwell and not been able to publish them. And I thought, well, you sell books 365 days a year, especially, you know, with online sales. So it isn't a matter of just pushing them for Christmas, because it's like a dog. It's not just for Christmas, it's for every day.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Terrible at fetch though.
One of you, I think it's you, that you run a subscription
Yes.
service to which you get it out there to as many readers as there are. You
Yeah.
must have lots of followers. How you said you made a bland statement that most self-published books are pretty dire.
Yeah.
How do you set, if you're going to take money off people and a subscription service, how do you set the standard of the books that you're going to promote?
So you read them. They have to hit several boxes. So because we send different genres out to people, they're meant to be like taste breakers, something new that you might not have tried. So they have to be accessible as a kind of baseline. So they can't be full of technical jargon, they can't be too confusing, or they can't really be too controversial either. You know, they've got to appeal.
If people submit their work to you, do you sometimes turn books down?
Do I turn them down?
Do you turn them down?
Tone them down.
No, turn them down.
Turn them down
Not
all the
put
time.
them on your website.
We turn down about 99%, well, almost all the books that we get
Right.
submitted,
The
because we
majority.
only publish 2 in a box every month. So that's 24 in a year, maybe 25, 26, because we sometimes do the
different
bits.
to a traditional publisher weeding out the.
So I don't know how traditional publishers do it. The way that I do it is I read the first chapter, or sometimes the first page is enough, and
You decide what
Yep.
goes on.
yeah.
I mean, I'll just say, as somebody who was contacted by Stephen, like I'm terrible at marketing. I suffer from anxiety, so I'm very hesitant about sending my work out to people I don't know. But again, my book that your paper quest picked up, it was part of like an indie author sale online. Steve picked up like loads of books that were on sale through there.
About 300.
Yeah. Just so happened, I think he said to me that he had a list, he chose a random number, the number was next to my title, he read my book, enjoyed it, and then managed to contact me in the end. For some reason, I've made it very
Carrier
difficult to
pigeon.
contact me, yeah. And I mean the process as well, obviously with quality control, there were a few editing suggestions made.
Typos mostly, right?
Yeah, it was mostly typos, mostly formatting. Because, like I say, I mean, I have an independent editor myself.
I was going to say, did you have a professional editor? Because there's development editors and line editors and proofreaders. And
I have. He'd call himself professional, I'm sure. I mean, it helps that he knows my style as well. So that's the thing. So one thing that I always comment about is that writing should be personable. It should reflect the person writing it, not just be structurally sound. And I say that because I knew somebody who self-published their book as well. And they were somebody who'd read all the how to write a bestseller, writing novels for dummies, all this stuff. And I picked up their book, and it was functional. The grammar structure was fine. The sentence structure was fine. It followed narrative conventions. It was boring. It was. I don't want to say soulless because that is a bit harsh, but yeah, it was writing by committee, and that didn't sell. And that's what I've actually found through. I don't know if either of you have had this as well. You'll always have as soon as you say you're self-published, you'll always have somebody who are props of nothing will kind of go, "You've made loads of spelling and grammar errors." Right,
I mean, I
okay.
have, but that's not the point.
But the second thing they'll say after they told you that you've made loads of errors, "Oh, who proofread this book?" I'll proofread it for you for a price, and it's all. And those are always the people as well where, like, I don't know how many people here have read Cormac McCarthy. Yeah. Oh yes. He has a very flexible approach to punctuation and grammar that I think if one of these like people who read the how-to books and like how write, this is literally a quote that I was told by this guy what proper writing is. He's still alive, don't worry. They would look at something like I say, like Cormac McCarthy or Stephen King or something like that, and if you didn't tell them it was a famous author, they would straight away they would just be like, "Oh, this is terrible. Oh, run on sentences," you know, all that jazz. But I mean, how do you approach?
Well, look, I had when I started putting my book out to literary agents, I had a couple come back to me. I didn't realise when you put things out to literary agents that they usually say nothing.
Yeah.
So I had a few come back to me with odd comments saying, "Oh, you know, we enjoyed this, but we liked your premise, but a few of them said, we think you should take this to a literary consultant," and they recommended a gentleman called David Llewellyn, who runs a literary consultancy. So I contacted David, and he has been the person that's been editing and looking at my work, and one of his suggestions was to put it in the present tense rather than writing in the past tense. He has been, obviously I've paid him good money, but I've had more than my money's worth out of him, and he got me 2 introductions to top name literary agents, neither of which took my book, but the fact was he opened doors for me that would not have been opened to me, and since I got to the point where I thought, right, okay, I've pushed this and he's introduced me and all of this, there's only so far you can go sort of down the sort of traditional publishing route before you think, right, nobody's going to pick this up. We're not J.K. Rowling. I'm not going to go in a cafe and somebody say, "Oh, I read your manuscript," but he said he would help me if I did self-publishing, and so I thought, right, okay, I've got the manuscripts, they've all been edited, he's edited them. My husband used to edit for our trade union magazine, so he edited them as well. Plus I've made various people read them against their will.
I find that usually works. Yeah.
But they all said they enjoyed it, and so once I got to that point and thought, right, okay, I can't get any further, we're trying to get it published, I'll self-publish. And I knew somebody who published a book, self-published, and I said to her, "How did you do it?" And she said to me it was easy, but she was a lot younger and therefore more technically cleverer than me. And so I thought, right, okay, I'll go for it. And you know, the manuscripts are there, and you know, that's just literally what I did. I just thought, right, okay.
Did you pay for it to be self-published?
No.
No, I don't either.
No.
But then you fix to the next hoop, which is to market it.
Yes.
That's the hard bit.
Marketing
I feel I should say, given that you brought it up, if somebody ever charges you to self-publish your book,
Oh, it's a scam.
it's a scam, 100%.
So how does it get published if you're not paying for it?
You go onto Amazon, you upload a cover and a manuscript, and you hit
The
publish.
Amazon, yes,
Yeah.
the Amazon.
Well, not
There's
yet.
there's
You can do it
Amazon.
other ways, but that's
There's,
how I do it.
This is what
I mean,
Loads of others, yeah. Loads of others.
I was going to say Amazon. Obviously, I use because you say to people like, "Where do you buy your books from?" and most people will say Amazon. It's become a synonymous brand name now, as much as like some people are like, "Oh, I hate Amazon." It's like, yeah, but you're going to buy your films, your DVDs, your books, and all that from
So
there.
they print it and distribute it and send it off to the press.
Print on demand.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
buy a copy, then they print it and
Yeah.
send you. Or you can buy author copies. I know one of the authors earlier was talking about the cut that they make from a sale being like £1 or something. Whereas the books that I've got with me today, if you buy one, I'll make 40% instead of 10% on that because it's just printed on demand.
Yeah.
Which are the other ones that do that?
There's, does anyone else know the other companies that do print on demand? There's Lulu,
There's Lulu.
Kobo,
Smashwords? Is that still a
Smashwords.
thing?
I think Smashwords might be defunct, I'm not sure. But there you go. Ingram Spark's one of the big ones, right? Yeah. There's loads of companies that do it, and you can then sell your books wide instead. So on Amazon, they usually say you can only sell it on Amazon. It's exclusive.
They do end up elsewhere though,
They
because I found
can,
mine
but
end up in
they
Barnes
have-
and
So
Noble
it's
as-
Yeah.
KDP Select, I believe, is the thing. If
Yeah.
you put it on Kindle Unlimited, you can't put it anywhere else.
With paperbacks, there is an option to do advanced distribution.
Where they sell it wide.
Where, yeah, it'll be basically like bookshops and everybody that can
Barnes
buy.
and Noble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you say though, with KDB Select, which is to do with ebooks, it will. There is, if you want it to be part of KDB Select or Kindle Unlimited, which is basically their lending branch. So if you're an Amazon Prime member, you can borrow books. If you opt in for that, you can't have the ebook sold anywhere else. But again, my philosophy towards that is outside of libraries, which again I think I should say at the moment, which is use your local library. They're wonderful places. I used to work at a library. Please use libraries. Yeah, aside from that, in terms of like digital lending, Kindle is a name that's synonymous with it. So
Hoover.
Could you speak a bit more about the library? Because I mean, I've considered that, but I didn't know, how do you actually get a book into a library?
Thoughts on libraries? Do you have your books in libraries?
Oh, you can just donate copies of your books, but
Okay.
you physically have to, take them there and say, can I give you a copy of my book? Generally they're keen to take them, but it's quite difficult to get your books into independent bookshops, because if you send them, the bookshop in Margate it was like putting your work up to a literary agent. They wanted the first 3 chapters to look at and the copy of the cover, and they come back and said, oh, I don't think that's the kind of book that our readers read. I'm sure it's not.
and they really don't respond well to taking the place siege. That was a error, and one that I never did.
If you
think-
self-publish, do you send a copy to the British Library as well?
You can also, I know, so I'm a personal trainer in real life, and one of my clients worked in a library, and I said, how do I get my book in a library? And she said, oh, if you ask someone to request it from the library, so if one of your friends phones the library and says, do you carry Icebreaker by Stephen William Hanna? You go, no. You go, oh, well, you should. And if you get a couple of people to do that, then they'll look into it.
See, I worked at a library when I got it in, so I had like the inside
Yeah.
thing. It was just kind of like, yeah, well, it has to be on this website. It's like, we use that website to upload books. Yes. But outside of that, yeah, you can donate them, as you say, or get friends to request them. And then that's usually the method of how they get into libraries.
Can you talk a bit about covers? How you choose
Oh, I'd
covers,
love to. Want to start off?
etc.
But I used, I can't remember what I brought my notes because
I should have brought notes.
there is a Canva
Oh, yeah.
is a
How to spell that?
CANVA, and it's a publishing tool you can use, which will allow you to make your own covers, and you can do it like one front page, obviously, if you're doing just an ebook, but if you're wanting to make it into a paperback, it will also do front and back and the spine for you, so you can see it. And you can also change it around, so if you do it and then think, oh no, I don't like that picture, I'll change that. The artwork obviously is an issue, because you either have to buy it or buy something that's free, that's online. Or I used a painting that I'd done about women playing football in World War One for one of my books, and the other one I'd been involved in a project in World War One where we also were doing suffragettes, and I had pictures of other women that I knew dressed as suffragettes. So the first book is my friend Rosemary, dressed as a suffragette. But if you look at a lot of women's fiction, you don't see the women's faces. They're looking away, or it's the back of them, or what have you. And so you can use photos that you own, so long as it's of your fits your genre, because quite often they, you know, it's fairly bland. But you do need to, when you see these covers on Canva, you think to yourself, oh, actually that doesn't work. And I wish now I'd done both my own. I've done the artwork for the third book, which I'm writing. The artwork's done before the book is.
I mean, I would say in regards to Canva, I've used Canva for about 7 books, but anyway, I've published a lot. But only on the covers that I wanted that were simple. I was like, the design I had in my head, I didn't want any like flash, anything like that.
Minimalist, right? Kind of.
Yeah, so I mean, my latest one, Everything Is Under Control. I was like, I just want like a hint of a creepy image, and then just because the whole premise of it is just like a simple government guide. But if I want something with a bit more, let's say, flash, I'm friends with a graphic novelist in Canada called Elaine M. Will, and she does my covers. We will discuss ideas, and I'll give her an idea of what I like, the image I want to convey. She'll send me some samples, and yeah, so that's how I. But again, it's all about quality control, because I think all of us would agree that obviously covers are massively important.
People judge books by them. Yeah.
Exactly.
A lot of self-published books I've seen, if they're done through Canva, they're overproduced. So people will go like choose wacky fonts and like colour, and yeah, it's or it's some
Back example on that, Ollie.
yeah jump
Save
yeah.
I would say, so I've seen a lot of covers. I've rejected a lot of books for having bad covers, no matter how good the book is. I've read loads of great books that have terrible covers. You can be a great writer and a terrible artist, or not know any good artists. But if you can't, well, if you think you can draw, but no one's ever told you that you're that good at drawing, don't draw your own cover. If you want to use AI, don't. Firstly, because the indie community will slaughter you for it. Absolutely slaughter you for it. People will blacklist you for it. Don't use AI for anything. Also, it's not as good as everyone thinks it is. Anyway, the next one is if you're going to use something like Canva or something, and you don't have a mind for graphical design, and you don't know anyone who does and can help you, go for minimalism. Trying to do too much is what gets most people in hot water. And a simple cover is much easier to, you can communicate an idea much simpler. A single object or a single kind of block of something. Paintings is another good one. I've seen some great indie fantasy that uses like old Renaissance paintings that are public domain, so you don't have to pay royalties for them or anything. That with just a nice, you know how like the Penguin Classics cover, it's the black border, just the name of the author and the title. That looks brilliant no matter what you put it on. So people get really carried away and kind of lose track of what the purpose of a cover is. Catch their eye, communicate what it's about. Don't use Comic Sans for the font. Also, Amazon has a
Sorry, what was that?
Comic Sans, the most outrageous font, that or Wingdings. But
Definitely use Wingdings.
Amazon also has a cover creator. When you publish, you can make your own cover. It's the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I've used that for my book. It is
Sorry.
awful. I wasn't going to spend anything at that point, you know.
Again, if you have to use Amazon's cover creator though, you can import images into it, so you can make an image on Canva and import it in. And you have to import it. You have to import it for a paperback, especially as a PDF file that's cover, spine, back, and you can make that on Canva if you type into Canva 5x8, 5x8 inch book. That's the classic, or 6x9, whatever you do. Make it in that size so it doesn't get bent out of shape when you try and resize it.
I think ultimately with covers, they can be too busy.
Yeah.
And
it
if it's
simple.
too busy, it looks more self-published, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you want to put as much on there as possible to sell your book, because you have all these ideas of what will.
It's funny because the back of books often show that it's self-published. It's like the front of the book has been worked on, but the back of the book is
Blank.
just a bird.
Yeah.
That's it.
I
And
feel
sometimes
called out
it's
there a
birds.
little bit. You know, it's kind of because, to be honest, my approach to my covers are I'll have a nice cover, and then the spine and the back are just like. The back's just where you tell people what the book is.
Can you name? Do you have a name for your publishing, or do you put it on?
I don't have a publisher. I'm self-published.
But can you kind of create like?
Oh, I read a lot of authors who have made their own imprint, by which I mean it'll be published by an old bald beardy guy press, and I'll Google that and I'll get nothing. So I go, right, they've made that up, and that's fine. You can do that. It might be better if you have a website for your kind of, I don't want to say for your made-up publisher, but if it's just you and it's an imprint, then that's fine. You can do that. Some people think it makes it a bit more professional seeming if it looks like you've got a publisher name, but most readers don't really look, to be honest, at the front matter to see who.
I was going to say 99 times out of 100. And to be honest, probably the answer to most of the questions about self-publishing can be answered with most readers don't care and just want to read the story.
Do you use a name for a publisher, or do you have your own publishing imprint or anything? Or is
No,
it just...
I mean, I was told to make them into a series, so
Oh, yeah,
although
yeah.
they're standalone, so that it does have a subtitle. It says a dockyard teacher's novel.
Nice,
So they all say a dockyard teacher's novel, and then that way it's sort of like
So it's like a collection.
like a collection.
It helps the algorithm, which is
It helps the algorithm, yeah. So
Which is everything.
in theory,
Hate
it picks
the
out.
How much do you pay? Oh, sorry.
oh, on you go, Pam.
I just got a quick one about marketing. Like we all know that marketing is kind of.
Ryan, speak up.
When it comes to marketing, we all know that everybody struggles with it here or there. What has worked for you guys?
Figure out who your readers are. Most authors will say, I want everyone to read my books, but I'm sorry, if you write romance, most of your readers are going to be women. And if you write sci-fi, most of your readers are going to be men. It's not fair or equitable, but it is what it is. You have to take the market as it is. So know who you're writing for, firstly, and that includes age range. And then figure out where those people congregate and gather. If you're a sci-fi author who writes spaceships blowing up other spaceships, go on to Facebook groups and Reddit subreddits, and YouTube channels where people watch spaceships blow each other up. Don't go and try and market it on your local buying and selling page or something, because no one there cares. Figure out who reads your books and sell to them directly.
Don't build a book canon.
What's that?
That
Oh,
leads
book
to
canon?
to lawsuits and injuries, and people will not like your books.
Don't do what?
Don't fire your books out of a
Don't
cannon
use
or
your
a
books as a
catapult.
projectile,
I
basically.
think that's a great marketing
I mean,
stunt.
it's subliminal,
It's
but
superliminal.
yes, the Simpsons quote.
It's faster than light.
There's liminal, subliminal, and superliminal.
Yeah.
What's superliminal? Hey, you buy my books.
Darren Brown mind trick. What about yourself?
But
What's worked?
because mine are women's fiction, but historical fiction, I pimped myself out to speak at all sorts of historical places. So I've been to Richborough, Roman Fort and spoke there. I go to U3As, so University of the Third Age, they want speakers. So I've got, so from the research I talk about the history.
WI.
I've got 3 bookings for WIs for this coming year. I've done Chatham Dockyard to 2 different sorts of groups, the volunteers, to the trustees. So every couple of weeks I'm at somewhere or other, pimping myself. Sometimes I sell nothing, other times you sell quite a few books.
Selling your physical books that you carry with you.
Yes, physical books I carry with me.
What about where people can buy them?
But they can buy them again from Amazon. So if somebody comes and says, is this available on Kindle, then I say,
They're
yeah,
all
it's,
e-books as well.
yeah, they're all available on. So when you do the KDP publishing, it offers Kindle as an e-book, and you can do it in 2 minutes to get it on there.
Yes.
It
And then
literally-
from that, you upload the same manuscript for them to print your paperback.
You have to tweak it because you
Different
have
format usually, right?
you have to do, you have to
Well,
have chapters, you have to make sure it's the right size, because otherwise you get what's called bleed, where your words are going over the margins, so.
There is software for that, I think, you know, like,
There's templates
if
as
that
well,
sounds
yeah.
terrifying, then there are
No, I've done-
pieces
I've
of
done
software out there that do it
but
for
the
you.
thing with Amazon is that they don't, what you put up there is what you get. They
Yeah.
don't do any checks for you. There are other free publishers that do. And one of the best is Feed a Read, which is
Okay, I think I've
Feed
heard
a
of that. Yeah.
Read. It used to be many years ago, it was, oh dear, had a different name. They've been going for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And they're part funded by the Arts Council. And if you send up your cover, for instance, and it's not perfect for publishing, they'll come back to you with an email and say you need to tweak this, or you need to have a higher resolution with your photo, or so on and so forth. Or if your manuscript's not quite right, they will tell you as well, and you can send a PDF and the Microsoft Word document backwards and forwards until you are absolutely satisfied, and so are they. And then it doesn't cost you anything to buy author copies from them.
No.
It's
That's
a
pretty
better
good.
service than Amazon, and then you can then upload it to Amazon as well. The same thing, it's your copyright, do what you like.
Sorry, I just wanted to just talk about one other thing about in regards to marketing, because it's something that's personal to me, because I suffer from a variety of mental health issues, one in particular anxiety. So I have a lot of issues putting myself out there, dealing with people I don't know. So basically promoting myself is, I've had bad experiences as well, or possibly generated because of my own mental health. So marketing is particularly difficult for me in that respect. But what I find, it's the word of mouth that, like, you're going to find a new audience through recommendation. So something like your paper quest has been a boon because you've got somebody's words behind you. If you look at the signs that I've made at my table, I've made sure to kind of have a quote from either an author or a book blog, basically saying thumbs up. But I find that's a common thing as well, especially among my generation, for the challenge of selling your book, and especially through self-publishing, is finding that audience. So I just wanted to say that just because it is a huge challenge, and it can seem like a setback. I mean, like I said, I've been doing this for 12 years and I've still barely have an audience. But if you do persevere, then the cream does rise to the top. If you, like I say, you believe in your work, you'll find other people will believe in it as well. So I guess my general point is, when it comes to marketing, I find it terrifying and very off-putting. But if you keep going, don't let it stop you writing. Basically, we're saying how marketing is a big scary thing when it comes to self-publishing, but because I just wanted to move away from the commercial aspect of. So it's just like, ultimately, and it goes back to the question you had. It's like, what's the first question you ask yourself when it comes to self-publishing? If you want to tell a story, tell a story. And
tell you who loves reading indie novels or self-published novels is other indie and self-published authors. So the best thing I ever did for my writing, for actually selling copies, was getting on Twitter. I hate social media. I'm terrible at it. I really hate it. And I can manage.
I'm not, but I've
Other
been,
authors,
pimping
other
it out to
authors.
book bloggers. And
Yeah, book
what have
bloggers.
you.
Yeah, I wanted to interject and say when it comes to marketing, there's also having your own newsletter. which is really useful for that, building your audience. There is
Which
social
you can
media.
subscribe to on my website.
What kind of things do you write about in your newsletter?
Oh, in a newsletter, I know some people who will do a newsletter every other. Sorry, Ryan, I've just.
No, you're good.
He's the reason I'm here today, so I have to be nice to him. The big bag of money is in the spot, okay?
You got a big bag of money?
Yeah, it's my life savings, you know. How do you think I got it? Sorry. What was that?
You forgot the question.
Newsletter.
Newsletter.
What do you
Yeah.
write in your newsletter?
I know a guy who puts recipes in his newsletter every month just for something to put in them.
I do it for years.
Know people who talk about what they've been reading.
Finish up your talking to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I only will send my newsletter out if I've got something new to talk about. So
Some authors really stress about how often to send it out. It has to be monthly or bi-monthly, quarterly, whatever. The best authors that I know whose newsletters I actually read send out a newsletter when they have something worth saying or an announcement to make.
I actually forgot to put in a newsletter that I was here as well.
What
So
would be worth saying?
I've got a book coming out, or I recently found a new favourite author who I love, or something that you think your readers, maybe something similar in genre to what you write. You know, I found this, it's kind of like what I write, I think you might love it. Things like that. But yeah, the only author newsletters that I actually read are the ones that only come out when they've got something to say, I think. If you're trying to force content every month, it very quickly becomes just another email taking up people's inboxes.
And I've seen people who've done that. They will literally send a newsletter every week or every other day, and it becomes
Rote.
Spam.
Yeah, it becomes spam, yeah. It
yeah.
becomes spam.
It's like you're waking up in the morning and they're outside your window, kind of going, "Hello,
Read my book.
have you seen this?"
I don't actually do a newsletter. Do you do a newsletter?
I don't do newsletter. I've got a
I was gonna
Facebook
say,
authors page.
send
Yeah.
your books
Where I
out to
put
book
things like, I've
bloggers as
set up
well
my
and
store
find
today.
physical
Yeah.
copies. Yeah, let them
I
read
do
your
a
book.
Twitter.
You're gonna have to give some
Twitter's
away
about
for
all I
free,
can manage.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
eventually
Are you on
it
Twitter?
all comes
Is it
around.
under your
Newspaper.
Under my author name? No, well, your Paper Quest has a Twitter account as well that Ryan runs,
All that
but
kind of stuff.
I couldn't do more than one Twitter account. I couldn't do more than one social media account. My brain would fall out my ears.
So I have Instagram and Threads. I've stopped using Twitter out of principle because it's a garbage fire. But yeah, Instagram and Threads is pretty much the only social media I really do. I mean, I'm on Goodreads, but that's only because I like it.
Oh yeah, Goodreads is important. A lot of people take Goodreads quite seriously.
Book talk, is that the thing?
But right, so if we're talking about social media, we've got to talk about TikTok, and I hate TikTok like you would not believe. But if you're on TikTok, Book Talk is massive.
Yeah.
It's the main marketing tool right now, especially for romance and romantasy, you know, romance fantasy.
I think all genre fiction.
All
now
genre now is, if you're trying to market your book, you need to be marketing on TikTok. I'm not, because I can't use TikTok and I hate it. But the beauty of being a self-published author is that you can just decide not to do something. I don't have to use TikTok because I don't want to. But if I was really serious about trying to make a living off my books, I would be on TikTok, and I would be working with people who make content that goes viral. Quite often people who've got millions of followers, and they are out there, but they also want the appropriate sums of money in return for their services.
I would say as well, recommendation in terms of like newsletters and somebody who has looked at Book Talk a lot recently, is present on social media, is somebody called Sam Missingham. She used to be, I think she used to work at several publishing houses, so she's like a veteran of the publishing world, and she's really good for advice and getting an eye, like say, get avenues where you can go where either trad publishing or self-publishing. She does push self-publishing more because there's, this is where I'm going to go off on a little rant here, so do excuse me. There is the idea at the moment that with traditional publishing, if you're not a celebrity, you will not get published. In fact, a friend of mine, this is going to sound like name dropping, but he used to be one of the QI elves.
Oh, right.
So he knows people, as it were. He wrote a trilogy of comedy books. That even though he wasn't not quite a name, but he was a bigger name than your average Joe off the street, nobody would pick him up because they were like, well, we've got like murder mysteries being done by somebody like Richard Osman who has a huge audience. You know, there was a quote. I don't know how true this quote was, so I'm going off on. I do apologise to everyone. I don't know how apocryphal this is, But apparently Hugh Bonneville recently said that he was told by his agent to do a children's book because it was the thing to do that celebrities now do.
David Wines has got a lot to answer for. Yeah.
And I just,
Actress has just done one as well, hasn't she? The,
Keira Knightley's just done one.
She's just done one, which
And-
people are really upset about.
They're just products.
Authors are really upset about.
They're just packaged products like anything else, and that's fine. That's fine. There's a market for
They're
that.
written by ghostwriters.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Well,
Did you self-publish your poetry as well?
No, I don't publish that separately. I mean, I've been in compilations that have been published by the local writers group in Janys, but and also in the Canterbury Festival one. But no, I don't publish the poetry separately. I sometimes think, should I slip it in at the back of the
Yeah.
what I've written?
Stealth poetry.
Yeah.
Or something.
Could you speak about your company and what exactly you do and what you want to
Speak to this. He does the business. Ryan does all the business stuff. My sole job is to find books for us to put in the boxes because that's the kind of full-time job in its own, and that involves finding where people put their books online, going through thousands and thousands of openings and first chapters and looking for good ones, and putting them in, and then reaching out to authors and stuff,
And you'll know
and
your
taking submissions. Yeah.
and you'll know your book is good if, like in my situation, Steve here really tries to contact you because you have
Yeah,
no
chased you across the world.
easy ways to
How
con.
many subscribers you have?
130ish just now, right now.
30
And we
recently,
just
yeah.
opened in the US, which so we were going for about a year, building up slowly in the UK. We tried everything.
How can you justify what
Mhm.
you charge for the 2 books each month that you send? to
How much are we right now, Ryan?
It's £18 a month.
£18 a month. 2 books for £18
£18,
is pretty good, I'd
that's
say. Yeah,
18.
yeah,
I mean, that's £9.
yeah. £10 for a
and
paperback's
that's
about normal
for
these days,
a-
right? I
a
don't know.
paperback copy? Or
Yeah.
Yeah, paperback
which
version.
Buy it.
posts out,
Yeah.
and they don't, no charge for post.
No, no charge for
Is that-
post, no charge for
I mean, I
VAT,
couldn't
nothing like
afford
that.
it because I'm on a
Mhm.
pension.
Well, that's
I
with
don't
also
know
like
how
the
to
extra bits and stuff in it as well,
But
right?
I'm surprised you've got 130.
I do a quarterly. It's cheap.
Yeah, quarterly's easier for some people. We didn't used to do that, but that was one of the bits of
And do you
feedback we
read
got.
all the books they send
Yeah.
you? You read all the
I haven't
books?
yet, but.
Well, also, yeah, two books a month, 12 months a
I've
year
only
is quite a
had
lot
two-
of books
I've
for
only
most
had
people.
2 books,
I
so-
can't, I haven't got any more.
Yeah, yeah.
time
Oh.
for any more.
Oh, hello.
Can I just pipe up on cost? If I
Yes.
sell my paperback through Amazon, because I'm the same with big book retailers, they demand a 55% publisher discount. So the cheapest I can sell a paperback on Amazon is $12.99.
Right, yeah.
Otherwise, I'm giving
Is that because of the
them money
size?
to sell my book.
I would say
Yeah.
kudos on the stealth promotion as well.
So yeah, sorry about that.
No, no, no,
But,
no.
yeah, I think, you know,
No, that's good, yeah,
they're
yeah.
really expensive to produce, and
Yeah.
the cost of paper's gone up, and the cost of ink's gone up, and the cost
And your books look quite big, like the large books, you know.
And they're about 85,000 words.
Okay, yeah, yeah, so are mine,
Easy
yeah.
print, so easy to read, but yeah.
Well, I recently had with one of my books, Wilthaven, which is probably the largest book I've done. It was unsustainable to sell because to get any sort of money from the book, like I say, I did. You know, everybody says, "Oh, we don't self-publish for the money." We still like money. It buys us pretty things. But with the size of Wilthaven, it was unsustainable because the I think it's currently $10.99 on Amazon. So if you get a copy here today,
Hint, hint.
you actually get it for cheaper, £1 cheaper, and it's signed. But it was also unsustainable in when people were ordering physical copies off of me because it was I think it was like a couple of millimeters over a large letter,
Right, yeah.
which immediately goes from like paying in £2.50 to post it off to like £4 or something like that. So it was just like to make any sort of goodness out of the book, I was like I have to charge like 15, stupid amounts of money. But I mean, my general rule with the pricing of my books is as long as I make a quid from it, then I'm happy. So that allows me. I think one of my books is $6.99. Others are $7. I don't know about yourselves.
Yeah, when when you put it on Amazon, they've got a ready reckoner, and as you put the price on, it will tell you how much you get as profit. So you can see, and if you're thinking, right, okay, because initially I thought I'd sell it for say £8, but you're getting something like 50 pence or something. So it's up to like £10, and then I get sort of, I think it's about £2.50 from Amazon.
But they do sometimes change your price, don't they, according to their...
But it's because it's an American company, and it's to do with exchange rates as well.
They only did that recently, I think, because it was a few months ago. I got the email saying, yeah, we're changing our production costs, so we're going to have to change the cost of your books. And then yeah, you just go onto KDP and you can amend the price as you wish. So if I want, I could publish all my books at £99.99 and laugh all the way to the bank.
If you sold
Once.
them.
Yeah.
Sold them for 99.
No, if you sold any at all.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
if
I
you sold
can
one,
find at
maybe.
least one person to blackmail.
Sorry, we got your question up at the back there.
I just wondered if any of you have gone down the route of like looking at grants or crowdfunding or
Yeah.
those kind of things.
There's a lot of really great indie authors on Twitter who have kickstarted, Kickstarter, or who use Patreon and things. But they've kickstarted special editions of their book to pay for fancy artwork, great design work, like the design on the inside, so there's fancy chapter headings. And there's a great Thai author, Sienna Frost, who writes the Obsidian series. She's phenomenal, one of my favourite authors. And she got a special edition done that had an artist do, every chapter has like a splash page of black and white line art, and it's beautiful. And she got something like 30k kickstarted to do that. But she started on WordPress. She WordPressed all of her books initially, and she had a fairly large following because it's basically Game of Thrones on the Mongolian steppe. It's fantastic.
I mean,
so she had loads of people following her, so she had loads of people
Matt's trying to make a point.
generate that. Oh, sorry.
Well, quick look, most of your novel.
Also, there you go. Yeah.
We put this out, got five grand so far on the comic.
Did you just do
Again,
Kickstarter?
kudos for the stealth promotion.
Just Kickstarter.
Hey, by the way,
Yeah.
I was
The
regarding
Kickstarter and grants and stuff are great. I don't know so much about grants in Scotland. There's not a lot of great grants going about for authors. You can apply for things like writers' retreats that you can win. There's a grant that I applied for once where the prize was basically 10k to go and pursue it and get art done. Go and get yourself away for 6 months and finish it and stuff like that. But it's like winning the lottery. Getting one of them, it's not worth kind of counting on.
I mean,
but Kickstarter definitely.
the cover artist I mentioned, Elaine M. Will, she's running a Kickstarter at the moment for her graphic novel Last Band on Earth, which is kind of like I think she compared it to like a punk rock apocalyptic something. But at the moment, I think she's just passed $5.5 grand, something like that. But I when it comes to Kickstarter, I did a Kickstarter once, and I'd love to say it was so I could do like a fancy cover or anything like that. It was just to guarantee sales.
Yeah. The other thing is with Kickstarter, you have the same problem as you had if you just wrote the book and released it, which is how do you get word out about the Kickstarter? You have to market a Kickstarter. A Kickstarter is basically its own thing that you're trying to do. Grants I'd be interested to know more about, but it's not something that I'm an expert on at all. You know anything about grants, Bill?
I do know about grants, but
Oh,
not
do
for this project.
Oh, yeah.
Because I run a community theatre and we get grants
perfect,
to do things like somebody mentioned Collier Ferguson earlier, and they paid for our new lighting rig, and the Theatres Trust paid for new emergency lighting. But you have to write quite a big sort of thesis to get, and then like you say, it's like winning the lottery. You're up against everybody else, and so if you can get money, because on my table I've got a little local history book that the Heritage Lottery Fund paid for as part of the research that we did into World War I women, and they paid, but the condition of that was the original first run we had to give away, and we gave that away to local schools and community groups, local libraries, so everywhere would have this women's history locally. But then, you know, the second run we paid for ourselves, and we, you know, obviously charge for that. So yeah, it's very limited what they give you. They won't give you money just to be creative.
Yeah.
I can see Barry hovering. So
I'm looming. Just looming a little bit.
I just kind of checked my phone as well. I was like,
We're getting into that bit where we go into the in-between bit, and then Louisa Campbell will be on here chatting to me. But if there's anything else more that you would wish to ask these lovely people right now, please
Anything,
do it.
any weird question you want, go for it.
We
I
don't
would
have
say
one-
as well, I don't want to
we
speak
don't have
for the
one,
other
but I
two.
don't want you to be sucking it down and not
If
saying
you
it.
if you can if you can ask it, I'll answer it in one tweet. Right, I'll answer it in 120 characters.
I don't want to speak for the other two, but I will happily answer any questions as long as you buy a book.
We've reached the
Perfect.
impasse there. We've
Let's
reached.
do it.
We've reached.
Yeah, that's
Thank you very much, everyone.